Hey, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good mid-dusk, whatever time it is, wherever you're at. This is Hog Dog for Life of the VR Vagabonds group. That's vrvagabonds.com. We review VR hardware, software, and today we're going to be reviewing a brand new VR app that just came out in Steam. It was released like on the 30th of last month, and it is called Ultimate Fishing Simulator. We're going to go ahead and launch it. Ultimate Fishing Simulator is in pre-release. In fact, as we get into the game, it's from Ultimate Games in partnership with BitGollum. These guys, that's the logo you see there. This game, as we get in, you'll see that they have a list of items that they've completed for pre-release. This game has some serious potential, and I will tell you, I've got about 10 hours of game time into Ultimate Fishing Simulator, and I will also say that it has very quickly become one of my favorite things to do in VR. To begin with, this is where you start out in the game. This is a little, log cabin. Kind of a nice little log cabin. I wish I had a cabin that was kind of like this one, only it had bedrooms and stuff. That goes somewhere else. But anyway, here's the changes. There's a big list of builds and changes that they've done. I'm not going to read through those, of course, because, well, that's not what we're really here for. We're here to talk about the game itself and how well it performs in VR and whether or not it's worth checking out. And I will tell you right now that, like I said earlier, it is one of my favorite games already, and I've only got like 10 hours into it. To begin with, their music is super crappy. So what they do offer down here in the bottom is online radio, and you can see that there are several radio stations, different genres. These are all online radio stations. I've already chosen one. I've chosen the Left Coast 70s station because it's got some mellow music for fishing. This is probably the most fast-paced song I've heard on here. But while we're doing this review, I'm going to go ahead and reduce the music volume. There we go. To begin with, this game is... I'm going to say that the guys who developed this must have a passion for fishing, because they really went all out when it comes to all the different stuff you need to go fishing. In fact, I'll just bring up my tackle box here. You can see there's rods, reels, lines, floats, hooks, baits, lures, feeders, feeder baits, and other. In fact, in the other category, there's ground baits, there's rod pods, there's bait indicators, and then there's an other category within the other category. And they have stuff like augers for ice fishing, fish nets, and float weights. Now, I don't know why float weights ended up in the other category. They should actually have a weight category here, so you could put different types of weights on your line. But and they may do that in the future. I don't know, but okay. Moving forward, on the main screen here, you can see that this is my fishing setup. I actually have two different fishing setups here. It's got my rod, my line, my reel. I'm using a spinner. I actually have worm on there, but it doesn't actually put it on the spinner unless I change that to a hook. But the cool thing about this is I can select my rod, and it'll give you all the information you need about what you're looking at. This is a spinning type rod. Its durability is 25.4. It tells you its length, what it cost, and what level you need to be to use it. Now, I'm currently level 10. This is a level 3 rod. But all of them do the same thing. They tell you what level, what the price was, and the information about it. Different items have different information, like this reel will show you its line capacity. I know that if a fish goes out beyond 492 feet, I'm going to run out of line and lose the fish. So knowing that is very handy, when fighting a fish. Keep yourself from losing line. But anyway, it also tells you about its tests, not its tests. This is its durability. This can handle up to 34.2 pounds of pressure. If you look at the line, it lists its tests as durability. That's 31.75 pounds. I have switched my stuff over from European to Imperial. I say European, I really mean metric. There is quite a, speaking of the options, they've done pretty good on keeping it simple. It covers pretty much everything: shadow quality, water quality, texture. You can change your resolution, anti-aliasing's there, reflection, and this is something that they added that's kind of new. You can change the gamma, the contrast, and the brightness right inside the game, which is kind of cool. Sound information's here, controls. Let me go ahead and save that because I kind of like that contrast better, or that gamma. Anyway, across the top here you can see that there are a number of different things to look at. This is your options that we're currently looking at, and you can look at those options: VR, controller, which, that's the Xbox controller. Yes, you can use the Xbox controller with this game. I haven't tried to do that because, I just don't prefer it. It also has a trophy room. When you do some fishing and you click on this, what happens is it takes you back to this place, but that door is open. You can walk through there. There's a fire going, and some of the fish you've caught are hanging on the walls, mounted on a trophy style mount. It does have rankings. This is the leaderboard. You can see right down here, I am currently 27th in the world. That doesn't really mean anything because this game just came out. So, and I've spent a little bit of time. I've caught 1,000 pounds worth of fish. I have caught 91 fish in 10 hours or so. And you can see that there are other people who, like this guy, caught 397 fish for 87 or 89,000 pounds of fish. He's been out in the ocean catching blue marlin. I've been catching rainbow trout. But anyway, so there is a global leaderboard. There's also a leaderboard for each map, and we'll get into that in a second. This little feature actually is kind of like an encyclopedia for the different fish that are available. When you select a lake, it'll tell you what kind of fish are in it. And if you want to know how to catch a certain type of fish, what you do is you come in here into the encyclopedia. Say we want to catch some bull trout. It'll tell you a little bit about the bull trout. It'll tell you the best weather conditions, morning, noon, light wind, and it'll tell you the best luring methods if you use a lure. Not all fish require a lure. Some you can get with a bobber. A bull trout is definitely one of those that you can get with a bobber or a lure. If I wanted to know how to catch, let's see if there's some sharks in here. There's a carp, a rainbow runner. There's a marlin. There's the best weather conditions, best luring method: straight, slow, straight, lift and drop, twitching. I haven't caught any of those because I'm not a high enough level to get the good stuff to go out to get one. But anyway, you can see there's quite a list of fish that you can fish for. Moving on, this is your your profile information. I can get to this by either clicking my name up here or clicking that over there. And what it does is it shows you your profile, how much experience you have, how much till the next one, how much money you have. You'll notice I have $2, and that's because I I've been spending my money, and I say money, in-game money. It's not something you purchase. You earn money from catching fish, but I keep spending it on stuff to catch more fish. So now here it shows I've caught 175 fish. I have fought 212 fish. I've won the battle 83% of the time. But anyway, this is your player information and your skill points. Skill points are every time you level up, you can choose a new skill to add to your profile. They have things like lower prices, using an auger, strength, more experience, the ability to use boats, and this thing called hunter vision, which we'll talk about when we get into the game. This piece right here, this is the multiplayer piece, and this is my friends list in Steam. You can see I've got quite a list here. One thing I wish they would have done in this game is when one of your friends is playing this game, they should be moved to the top of the list, because it can be a real struggle to find their name, especially if you have a lot of people in your list. Luckily, I play with Gino here. He's at the bottom on my list, so I'll just scroll to the bottom, click invite, and then he can connect to me. I hope that they improve the ability to connect to people's multiplayer sessions, and I'm sure they will after they get some feedback. But I mean, it's just a little odd. I have to invite him, and then he has to accept that in Steam rather than in the game itself to connect to my session. They also have here your tackle box. This is where you can buy rods, reels, lines, floats, hooks, baits, lures, feeders, feeder baits, and other. Oh, we kind of went over that already. But this is where you buy it. If I wanted to buy that red stuff there, you can see it's level 1. It's got a whopping 1.9 pound test. I wouldn't buy that myself, but it tells you about it here. You could purchase it if I had the money. I have $2. If I didn't have $2, it would say the buy would light up, and I could actually purchase it, and then I could actually place it on my rod. Now this is one setup. You can have up to 5. I have 2 setups right now. 2 rods, 2 reels, 2 this. I don't have a 3rd and 4th or 5th one. I will have eventually, because I want to set up one setup for bobbers, another for spinners, another for maybe fly fishing, bottom fishing for catfish, and then maybe an ocean setup for myself. Also, when you have multiple setups and you get right down here at the bottom, rod pods, like this rod pod, will hold 3 rods. So I can actually go out to a lake and fish with 3 different rods. So you have to have 3 of them set up in here before you do that. Okay, moving on. Here you can set up a tournament of your very own. You can say how long it is going to be, how many people can be in it, the type of competition, whether it's goal or time, and then the goal, total weight or biggest weight. I'm going to go ahead and not do that because I really don't want to start a tournament. Anyway, there are several lakes that you can go to in the game itself, and there are also some DLC lakes. The first one they start you off with is actually a fairly simple place to fish. It's called Betty Lake. A great little spot. When you start out, they give you $150 and a rig plus 31 flies to fish with, so you can earn some money to buy some gear. This is where you will start out. As you rank up, as you rank up, you have access to other lakes and other versions of the lake. Like this is the same lake, Betty Lake Winter versus Betty Lake. In order to get to this, you have to be at least level 2. And then not only do you have to be level 2, but you have to buy a license for the lake. Like I haven't bought a license yet for St. Zeno's, but I have bought one for Powell Lake. So you can see it's not down here. And again, as you go through these, some of these require a certain level and you to buy a license. You can see here there are quite a few. This is, well, I'd say quite a few. I didn't really count them, but there's a fair amount. This one's kind of cool. It's a big river. This is a good place to go fly fishing, which I have yet to experience. So that's probably where I'll do that. It'll cost me $1,000 to buy a license. That's in-game money, not out of my wallet. Pinus Bay. Here's the ocean. You can actually, this is where you start seeing ocean. This is a $1,200 license. But fear not, there's another spot in Alaska where the license is only $100. This is one of the DLC lakes. Very cool lake. In fact, I think this is the one we'll go out on. This is the lake that's on the back of the $20 bill. It also, they have a winter version of it if you want to go ice fishing. This is also DLC. This Caraba Dam. I haven't actually been there. That's a $100 license. As soon as I get $100, I'll probably buy that license. And this is what I said Alaska when I said the ocean. I actually meant Greenland. There's a spot up in Greenland where it only costs $100 to go to. I can't remember if this is DLC or not, but they have Greenland and Greenland Sea where you're on this boat. That's it for the different lakes. So let's go ahead and pop into we're looking for not Betty. Betty's a good lake, but I prefer this one. And we'll go ahead and go. Oh, the game types. You can go into local, meaning you. Multiplayer with people who have your language only, multiplayer any language, or multiplayer private room. So if you want to just you and your Steam buddies, I'll go ahead and leave it open for multiplayer my language because that's the default. And there's no real interaction between multiplayer persons, so it's not like they can fish out my spot or annoy me in any way. So I'll just leave it wide open while we do this review. It takes just a second to fire up the lake. Normally it doesn't even take that long, but come on, Lakey, get out here. There it goes. It doesn't normally take that long. At this lake, you can do a couple different things. You can fish right from the shore, which is good, or you can take a canoe out and fish out in the water. Here I have a fly or a spinner on my rod, which I don't really want. I'm going to go ahead and switch my gear out. I can either just switch it out, or I can take this setup, because this setup is already set up for what I want to do, which is bobber fishing. Except the float that I have on it is way too big. It's for the ocean. So I'm going to take that one, equip it, and then once you do that, you also have to change your hook. I'm going to go ahead and try to find a number 5. There we go. Equip that. It's currently a 6. Equip that. This requires a 14 gram optimal weight, and you can see down here my float weight is currently set 30 or 18 of 30, so I'm going to switch it to 14. Resume that. Oh, I thought I changed it. I did, but I didn't say use this set. Also, let me switch my bait. We're going to go with some flies. Alright, so now I've got my rod. I've got my Vive controller. I'm actually doing this in the new Valve Index headset that I purchased recently. I love that headset. I did not purchase the Valve controllers. which I'm kind of sorry about and kind of not, because there's a lot of games that are still redeveloping stuff for the Valve controllers. So I'm used to the Vive because I've had the original Vive since pre-release. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and fish off the pier here rather than jump in a boat. Oh, you can hear the frogs. Now there is a little HUD here. I'm going to back up. Let me recenter my HUD. And you can see it shows you my hook size, my bait. It shows you the weather conditions up here. And that's a little chat box for the multiplayer session. It also shows you when you catch stuff. It shows other people when you catch stuff. I'm going to go ahead and cast. It wasn't a very good cast. You can set the game up so that you got to actually pull the trigger when you grab the reel, or not. You can just move your thing near it and start reeling, which is the way I prefer it, so I'm not constantly holding the trigger. There are two different types of two options for your profile. There's a normal version and a realistic version. Realistic fishing will take away things like this here bobber view. There's also the ability to actually look at, oh, I'm about to catch fish, your bait. Oh, I scared him off. Oh, I got him. Come on in. Ooh, he's a fighter. Actually, he's a pretty good sized fish, or he wouldn't be fighting so hard. You have to be careful not to break your line, which is a real thing in fishing. I'm going to let him tire himself out a little bit while I adjust my drag. It's currently at half. Oh, he's starting to come back in this way, so I'll start reeling him in. That line that you see around that number is how much tension you're putting on it. If it stays in the red too long, you will break your line. He's a good sized one. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. He's starting to come this way. I think he's tuckered out a little bit. Oh, there we go. Don't want to go too far. Come on. Come on. Come on, big guy. There we go. And I had to get this one with a net because he's a 34-pound brown trout. You can see my brown trout. Normally, when they're not really huge, like this one is, this one's pretty big, it shows your rod and the fish hanging off of it. This one I can sell for $233. I'll get 258 experience points, or I can release him for an additional 52 and not take the money. That is a new record for me for the brown trout. I have never caught one this big. This is a 34.5-pound fish. I'm going to go ahead and sell it because I only have $2 and I really need the money. So now I have $235 that I can now spend on tackle, bait, whatever. The game is pretty good. The graphics aren't super great. They're not GTA 5 style graphics or whatever. It's not Elite Dangerous. It's not a super exciting shooter, first-person shooter, where you're ducking behind stuff and this and that. But I honestly believe that. I said, well, I'll pick that game up, and that'll give me something to do when my buddies are not on. Give me something to kick when I'm by myself. And then my buddy Gino come along, and he's like, hey, have you seen this Ultimate Fishing game? And I'm like, absolutely. In fact, I just bought it. And so him and I have been fishing together in multiplayer, and I haven't really been doing much else for the last few days besides this. So again, over here it shows you the what I caught. And if there were other people in here and they were catching stuff, it would say their name, caught, and what they caught, and how big it was. Let me see. There's this is that hunter vision I talked about. That's an option that you get when you rank up, something you can select. And what it is when I select it, I can actually see all the fish in the lake, and it helps me to figure out where I want to cast. It was right there in a pile of fish. We'll catch one more. It shouldn't be too long because I just cast in a big pile of fish. Again, in normal mode, I can actually go click my controller, and I can actually see my bait under the water, kind of cheating. Realistic mode, you can't do that. I will say about the difference between the two, because I have two profiles on this game, one realistic and one normal, to see what the differences were. I will say to you this. If you want to see what one's like, or test them both, what I suggest is you build two profiles in the game. It gives you three, so you can have three. I think I have a fish. I do have a fish. So build one normal, build the second one realistic, and don't play with them too long because you'll get stuck. You know, like I made it to level 10 or 9 before I decided to test the other one. And then I really kind of like the realistic mode over the normal mode. But I didn't want to give up my 9 levels that I've gone up. So I kind of abandoned the realistic and just stayed with the normal, what I had set. So let me go ahead and catch this fish. He's a good one. Got him with the net. It's an 18-pounder, brown trout. Kind of looks like the other fish, because it is the other fish. They're both brown trouts. One's an 18-pounder, one's a 34. I'm going to get $128 for that guy and 139 experience. And I'm almost to level 11. Anyway, that's what it looks like fishing from the shore or a pier. Let's go ahead and enter a boat. Fishing's not much different from a boat versus the pier. The difference is I can actually control where this guy goes. You just control it by holding your control forward. It's not a boating simulator, so they didn't spend a lot of time trying to make it overly complicated to drive the boat. You just basically point in a direction, and then when you want to stop, you can stop. And actually, if you look at your controls, it always tells you what to do, what to push to get to what you want. Like to start fishing, I just got to hit the grips on my Vive, and bada boom, bada bing, I'm in the boat. I have my fishing rod. I'm going to get out my hunter vision. I can see that there's a bunch of fish over there. There's a bunch of fish over there. I think I'll go this way. That was a crappy throw. There we go. That might be a little too far. I'm going to go ahead and set my drag. I like to set it at about 83 so that if I do get a big fish and he starts running off, it doesn't instantly break my line. Not that that's happened. But with this particular reel, you can set it so it's 100%, 83%. There's steps, 67, 50. I think I just got a fish. Oh, no, there's my bait view, which again, I think is cheating. But I'll tell you what, if they found a way to put a camera on the end of your bait in real life, people would be cheating all over the place. At any rate, like I said, the game looks good. There are fish that jump out of the water. You can see them swim by your boat. You can almost see all the way to the bottom of the... You can, in fact, see all the way to the bottom of the lake. It looks like I might have a fish. No, I do not. Or do I? I do. Not a great big one. This is a Sager. That's what. Oh, this is what they look like when they're not really huge. Just a 5-pounder. Again, it shows you your rod and you're kind of holding it. There's no real the physics on the fish hanging off of the thing isn't super real, but I don't think that was their goal. I can sell this guy for $41 and get 43 experience. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And that pretty much covers the game itself. I would I'd highly recommend this game if you enjoy fishing. This is the game for you. If you haven't enjoyed fishing because you always go out to the lake and you sit for hours and hours and never catch a fish, this is also the game for you because that doesn't really happen here. As long as you have the right size hook and some bait, you throw it out there, you're going to catch a fish in just a couple minutes, or less. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we will see you soon.